podcasting is not an exercise in narcissism, contrary to popular belief. I mean, there are so many people out there that create their podcast because it's look at me, look how wonderful I am, come to me, buy from me, me. Those are the people that last less than 10 episodes. Mm-hmm. You know, and I don't care if you're a world-renowned superstar or if you're just somebody that's starting their podcast in your basement. Nobody wants to hear you talk about yourself and how wonderful you are and how great you are and how amazing you are week after week after week after week after week. Nobody cares. Mm-hmm. And, you know, what they want to find out is, what information can this person give that's going to make my life better? And when you sit there and say, okay, this show is about my guest and my audience and building my audience and adding value to my guest and allowing my guest to shine and letting my audience understand the value that my guest brings, what you become is the conduit. And people sit there and say, okay, Ben, week after week, brings these amazing guests to us, brings this amazing information to us. Maybe I should go out and find what else Ben does. And all of a sudden, people end up on your website and they end up phoning you and you end up having Zoom calls and you end up making money from them. But if the object is to say, look at how wonderful I am and the books that I've written and the podcasts that I have and this, that, and everything, and look how important I am, nobody cares. There are 2.5 million podcasts out there today. Okay. The average podcast has 24 episodes, but I've got 270 episodes. Most of the people that I listen to have over 300 episodes. So the statistic is true that over 90% of podcasts never make it past 10 episodes. Okay, so you're dealing with 240,000 podcasts at best that are not ghost casts, that are not sitting there going, okay, I'm one and done. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that people get frustrated easily. People take a look at their statistics every single day. They look at it like their Facebook feed and they go, okay, you know, how many likes did I get? How many loves did I get? How many downloads did I get? And they're looking, and they get 2 downloads and 3 downloads and 5 downloads, and they get frustrated and they leave. You know what? This is a marathon. Podcasting is a marathon. I didn't feel I was getting good at being a podcaster until probably year 4. And it's one of those things where you're sitting there going, you need to understand who your audience is. You need to understand that you're not going to get 50,000, 100,000, 2 million downloads on an average podcast. You might get 500 or 1,000, but those 500 or 1,000 people that listen to you week in or week out are raving fans. People that come back week after week after week and search you out and click on the next episode and download it and listen to it and share it. Those are the people you care about. So your trick is to focus on and sit there going, who are the people that are actually listening? You know, are they listening to the full podcast? Are they listening to 35 or 40 minutes? Or are they all kicking out at 20 minutes? If they're kicking out at 20 minutes, maybe it's time to shorten your podcast down to 20 minutes. If all of a sudden you realize that 98% of the people are there right to the bitter end, maybe your podcast isn't long enough. Maybe you're not going deep enough. And you have to, you know, so the more you can engage with your people, you know, creating a Facebook group or a LinkedIn group or an email list or a way for people to email you and be able to engage back and forth with those people that are raving fans. That's how you build an audience, because they tell 2 friends and they tell 2 friends and so on and so on and so on.
And that was actually going to be my next question, is this is an integrated approach. This is not
absolutely
a thing that's all you do is podcasting. Like once you kind of get that message or that sweet spot, you start to understand what people are wanting, then you develop more, they develop more, and you do it in multiple platforms.
Yeah, and it's experiment. I mean, we need to sit there and go, what do we want our podcast to be about? Okay, I'm interested in 1957 Chevys. That's it. You know, that's what I'm interested in. I want to create a show on 1957 Chevys. So the first question is, do I do this by myself, or do I bring experts in on 1957 Chevys and have this as bring in an expert type show? It's a very different thing. You know, is it a call-in show? Is it just a 10-minute diatribe on something new that I've learned about it? And you need to decide what you want that show to be about. Then you have to sit there and say, what do the people who are passionate about 1957 Chevys want to know about? Do they want to know about, where to buy new parts? What are the challenges in maintenance and carburetors and all those type of things, and be able to build out a schedule of conversation that's going to work for your people. Then you need to make sure that you have a way of sharing that material on multiple platforms in different ways. I take my podcast, I turn it into 30 to 60-second audiograms. So that way people have a teaser of what's going to be the podcast is going to be about. So they can listen to the teaser, say, oh, I like that episode. Okay, I'm going to listen to it. But if they don't like it, they're not wasting their time. I doubt there's anybody in the world, not even my mother, who's listened to 270 of my episodes. I haven't listened to 270 of my episodes. But there are episodes that I go back and I listen to because there were people that I said, oh, the first 30 seconds, yeah, that was interesting. Okay, maybe I'll listen to that one again. And so what we need to do is we need to make it easy for our audience to engage with us. We need to make it relevant to them. And we need to be listening to them across various mediums and give them the opportunity not only to listen, but also to share. If I was to do it again, I think that I would be far more strategic. When I first started a podcast, oh God, I mean, my 5th year now, I really didn't know as much as I thought I did. I really didn't. I didn't, I made a lot of mistakes. I made mistakes in buying equipment. I made mistakes in platforms. I made mistakes in business partners and in guests. And I think that the number one thing you really need to do is say, who is my audience? What do I want to talk to them about? What do they care about? And build the show around that, and stop worrying about the statistics. Stop worrying about, the week to week, and look at this as a compilation. Look at this as a catalog. And people are going to listen to your podcast, not for any one particular episode, but for the compilation. And if you can put great content and great audio and and decent production into every single episode and give people and give, you're going to get. And I think that that's really what it is. This for me has been a proof of concept. It has gotten me clients. It's gotten me relationships. It gives me a master class every single week when I'm interviewing people. But what I really need to do is to sit there and be far more strategic starting off, and realize that it's not just getting in front of a mic and speaking. It's about guest selection. It's about equipment selection. It's about making sure that your audio sounds really good. It's making sure that you edit effectively. It's making sure that you understand how to put things effectively onto platforms. And it's about time management and realizing what is the ROI and the difference between understanding, is it good or is it great? And, you need to at least have it be good. You're always aiming for great. And years later, my show is way better today than it was 4 or 5 years ago. 4 or 5 years from now, this show will be way better than it is today.